Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, is now the most powerful hero in the MCU, while Superman has always been the most powerful hero in the DCEU. So, in a fight between the two, in this ultimate showdown, who's coming out on top here? Who's gonna win? Let's get into it. But before we get into it, make sure you go subscribe. Only 20% of y'all are subscribed, so make sure you go change that. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. It helps us out a ton, and plus, you get to see awesome videos like this one every single day. And if you already are subscribed, well, you're amazing. You're the absolute best. Keep on killing it. Now let's get it. So starting out, well, there's the Scarlet Witch, the one who's destined to take down the Sorcerer Supreme, the most powerful magical being in the MCU. And for most of her life, Wanda Maximoff's powers were essentially operating on autopilot, just running in the background of her life, really just surfacing in the form of telekinesis and telepathy, plus some energy powers, which is genuinely just shocking to think about, because her telepathy is enough to incapacitate half the Avengers, force them to live out twisted nightmares. It's enough to control whole cities several times. It's enough for Wanda to overpower and tap into the Mind Stone, one of the most powerful objects in the universe. And it's enough to even get into the minds of other witches and sorcerers. Her telekinesis is enough to hold up a crashing air traffic control tower, lift up massive waves of threshers up into the air, then send them crashing to the side, overpower leviathans, peel back Ultron's impenetrable vibranium body and tear out his heart, even block attacks from Thanos, then completely and totally overpower Thanos, leave him helpless and in her control. And then her energy powers are enough to destroy the Mind Stone, while simultaneously holding back Thanos with the 5 other Infinity Stones. So, yeah, no big deal there. And it's really no surprise that Scarlet Witch is now the most powerful hero in the MCU. We really should have seen it coming all along, because all this are powers not even operating at her full potential. So, what is Wanda's true potential? Well, honestly, we don't really know for sure. I bet she's even got more to show us, but we do have a pretty good gauge now. Like, take the Westview Hex, for instance. Through just a massive surge of chaos magic, Wanda placed a hex around the town of Westview, transmuting it back to the 1950s and brainwashing all the residents to be actors in Wanda's sitcom world, WandaVision. Now, with all the cast and the crew and the location at her disposal on this show, Wanda could live out the life she dreamed of with Vision in the style of her favorite TV sitcoms, periodically shifting from one decade to another. And inside the Hex, Wanda had complete and total control, even to the point of creating a new Vision and new children who only existed inside of Westview. She could manipulate reality at will, introduce color, rewind time, edit out footage, manipulate the cameras, roll credits, even pause everything. She managed to mind control everyone in the town, forcing them to act their parts in WandaVision, all while going through incredible emotional trauma and experiencing the same pain and anguish that Wanda was feeling. And again, for the most part, all this was Scarlet Witch's magic running on autopilot. So if this was on autopilot, and if all of this insane stuff that she did before was just barely tapping into her powers, what can she do now that she's the full-blown embodiment of the Scarlet Witch? Well, for starters, she can beat Doctor Strange, she can beat Wong, beat 2 Sorcerer Supremes at once, and take down Kamartaj. All the force of the mystic arts combined, all at once. So yeah, no big deal. She was destined to either rule or destroy the world, making her essentially a planetary threat. She started casting spells like dreamwalking, allowing her to jump from universe to universe, Doctor Strange was pretty well convinced that Wanda was becoming, or had already become, a universal level threat. Then she went up against another team like the Avengers, the Illuminati, and ripped them all to shreds. Some of them she literally ripped to shreds. She was manipulating reality at will, throwing chaos magic all around, telepathically breaking necks, truly going all out. And this wasn't like a weak team by any means. They beat Thanos before he could snap, something that the Avengers couldn't do. So Scarlet Witch is kinda an insane threat. But Superman? Well, he's easily the most powerful hero that Wanda has ever squared off against, bar none. Now, Superman is the Man of Steel, the last son of Krypton. And because of that, well, it's definitely safe to say that he's the strongest, the most powerful hero in the DCEU. And so, I guess first things first, we gotta answer the question of just how strong is he? Well, in Man of Steel, Superman was able to hold up part of an oil rig and sent Namek flying away with a punch and flipped over several 150-ton locomotives on impact. He's stood under and overpowered the World Engine's gravity beam that was transforming Earth into Krypton. He's resisted the pull of the Phantom Zone, which mimics a small black hole, and he destroyed a large part of Metropolis during his fight with General Zod, even punching Zod across the majority of the city with just 2 hits. In Batman v Superman, Clark has pulled a 6,000-ton ship and sent Doomsday flying hundreds of meters through space. And then finally, in Justice League post Resurrection, he effortlessly overpowered Aquaman, Cyborg, and Wonder Woman, and didn't even move an inch when they attacked. Then he freaking destroyed Steppenwolf. It was a beating so bad that it got to the point where it makes you just feel sorry for the bad guy. But then what about durability? Well, Superman has taken blasts from a Kryptonian warship, took a whole barrage of attacks from a Batman trying to kill him, because Batman kills now. He's taken Doomsday's energy blast and giant energy waves, and even survived a nuclear explosion. Superman was also at the center of that explosion. And yeah, Kal was injured by the attack. He was nearly killed, but he survived and actually quickly recovered. Clark has also been tossed through skyscrapers, smashed through a mountain. He's taken attacks from Doomsday, from General Zod, from Feora and Namek, and after being resurrected, was completely unfazed by attacks from Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Cyborg all at the same time. He's also withstood the gravitational force of the World Engine. And finally, Superman is super freaking fast. And Man of Steel was able to both overpower and also just outrace the Phantom Zone, broke the sound barrier on his very first flight. But if he was doing that in his first time in the air, it's safe to say he could do it every other time too. So in Justice League, Superman was moving so fast that other members of the League, even people like Wonder Woman, were just completely frozen in the air. Superman even directly compares to the Flash. Well, I definitely think that Barry is still faster at the end of the day. Probably a whole lot faster when he really wants to be. Clark is still fast enough to dodge attacks from the Flash and kind of outstep him. So, who's coming out on top here? Who wins? Well, I think we'd all agree. The most obvious strategy for Superman to use here is to fly in there at super speed before Wanda ever even has a chance to think, much less get an attack off, and knock her out with one good superpowered punch. I think that's the most obvious way he could win here. And there's definitely evidence to suggest that this could work. This is definitely something that Superman could do. Except, can he really? Because something about Wanda just feels different. Like, after getting the Darkhold, she's operating on almost just a different level. So let's break it down a little bit. Wanda has always been strong enough to hold off Superman, believe it or not. I mean, she was destroying vibranium all the way back in Age of Ultron. Then she was overpowering Thanos, who could destroy some vibranium of his own. And of course, Thanos also beat up on Thor, who, of course, could do this. So, yeah, Scarlet Witch is definitely powerful enough to at least hold Superman at bay with her chaos magic, if she can catch him. And this is kind of the crux of the argument. Superman is always going to be faster. He's always going to land the first hit, and so he's always going to win. And while I definitely still believe that Superman is way faster than Scarlet Witch, I also don't think Wanda is necessarily slow. I mean, she's reacting to her speedster brother, and reacting to her speedster son. Most importantly, reacting to Captain Marvel, someone who should be able to go faster than the speed of light. And not just that, but reacting to her photon blast, which should be moving literally at the speed of light, too. I think Superman is still faster, but clearly Wanda is intended to be insanely fast, too. But the real kicker here, somehow she's now incredibly durable. I mean, gone are the days where Wanda is easily knocked out. Scarlet Witch took a punch to the face from America Chavez that was sending out a shockwave for like a mile around, and ripped through the boundaries between dimensions at the same time. And Wanda just smirked and shrugged it off. And even if Scarlet Witch somehow is injured, well, now she's got a pretty crazy healing factor. I'm talking the kind of healing factor where you can just magically pull your body all back together, act like nothing happened. So, can Superman still bull rush in there and take her out? Maybe, but it's not going to be easy by any means. I also don't really think it's in character for him to do this, at least when he's still in hero mindset and not kill all the Justice League mode. But with Wanda, well, now she's always kind of operating in killer instinct mode, and she can definitely kill Superman. She can destroy his mind telepathically, take him out that way. She can kill him with her chaos magic. She can make it so that he no longer has eyes or a mouth or a brain or a head. There's so many ways that she can win. And she was doing this all against an elite team of heroes, all while several universes away. She's going to be even more powerful in this fight here. So, who wins again? Well, I think Superman can win if he tries to go for the kill right away with his speed and his power. But I don't think it's necessarily in his character to speed blitz for the kill right off the bat, at least when he's thinking clearly. And besides, Wanda might be better at resisting this than we'd all thought. But it is totally in character for Scarlet Witch to now kill right from the get go. She's got no problem doing it. And she's got a ton of different ways to do it too. So I actually think I might have to give the slightest edge to her here. Believe it or not. I know, I was surprised too. Scarlet Witch wins.